Lesson 1.6, Solve Proportional Relationships. Write and solve proportions. A proportion is an equation stating that two ratios or rates are equivalent. The products of AD and BC are called cross products of this proportion. The cross products of any proportion are equal. So when we set up a proportion, we're taking two ratios that equal each other. And then to solve it, we're going to find the cross products and then solve our one-step equation. So if we go down and try a few. Example A. We have x over 4 equals 9 over 10. So I want to figure out what over 4 is the same thing as 9 over 10. So when I go to solve this, I'm going to take my cross products and multiply them together. So 10 times x is 10, and that's going to equal, because again the cross products equal each other, 4 times 9, and 4 times 9 is 36. Now we need to solve for x. So again, to solve for x, we're solving our one-step equation. So we do the opposite of what is being done to it. Since I'm taking 10 times x, I'm going to divide by 10. They'll simplify down. So x equals 3 6/10. Number 2, or example B, we have 2 over 34 equals 5 over y. Again, I want to figure out what does y equal, so that 5 over that number is the same thing as 2 over 34. So I take my cross products, I take 2 times y, which is 2y, and that equals 34 times 5, which is 170. And then since I'm taking 2 times y, I'm going to divide by 2. Those simplify down to 1. So y equals 85. So if we put in our calculators 2 divided by 34, that's going to be the same thing as 8 divided by 85. Okay, and the last one. 7/3 equals n over 21. Again, I want to figure out what is n equal to make these two equivalent, because the equal sign means they're the same. So I take the cross products. I take 7 times 21, which is 147. That equals 3 times n, which is 3n. And you notice this time I put my variable on the other side of the equal sign. That is perfectly fine. So I'm going to solve for n. Since I'm taking 3 times n, I'm going to divide by 3. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So 147 divided by 3 is 49. And the 3 is simplified, so I'm left with n. So 7 over 3 is the same thing as 49 over 21. Okay, if we turn to the next page, example D. The ratio of 7th graders to 8th grade students in a soccer league is 17 to 23. If there are 200 students in all, how many are in 7th grade? Okay, so we got to figure out what is important to us here. We know that we have a ratio of 7th grade to 8th grade, which is 17 to 23. So for every 17 7th graders, there's 23 8th graders. And I want to know, if I have 200 students altogether, based on what I have right now, how many 7th graders would I expect to have? So I'm going to go ahead and set up my ratio. Again, I'm comparing 7th graders to the whole. So I know I have 17 7th graders, and then I have to figure out how many students do I have altogether. So I take 17 plus 23, which is 40, and that's got to equal. Now, when I set up my second ratio and my proportion, I have to keep my labels the same. Again, I had 7th grade over the total, so I want to know how many 7th graders, which that's what I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out of my 200 students. So again, I have the number of 7th graders over the total. Once I have my proportion set up, I can go ahead and cross multiply and then simplify. So 17 times 200 is 3,400. And that equals 40 times x, which is 40x. Again, I want to get x by itself. I want to figure out how many 7th graders do I have. So I divide by 40. What I do to one side, I have to do the other. 3,400 divided by 40 is 85. And that equals our 40 simplify x. So we would say there are 85 7th graders. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're find unit rates. You can also use the unit rate to write an equation expressing the relationship between two proportional quantities. So now we're going to write an equation to figure out our unit rate. So we flip over to the back, example E. Olivia typed 2 pages in 15 minutes. Write an equation relating the number of minutes m to the number of pages p typed. How long will it take her to type 10 pages at this rate? So when we set up our equation, we need to figure out what are our two variables. We want m minutes and p pages. And then I need to figure out my unit rate. So how fast can we do something right now? Well, they told us that Olivia can type 2 pages in 15 minutes. So I want to figure out how long does it take her per page. So to figure out per page, I'm going to do 15 minutes over 2 pages, I'm going to simplify that, and that is 7.5 over 1. So she can type 7.5 pages in 1 minute. Now, when I go to set up my equation, I have to ask myself, what am I trying to find? I'm trying to figure out, well, how long is it going to take her? So if I want to know how long is it going to take her, I'm solving for m. So what is m? What is my number of minutes? And then that's going to equal my unit rate times how many pages I have here. So I know I can do 7.5 pages in a minute. I'm going to take that times the number of pages I have, and that's going to tell me how long it'll take me. Okay? So then it says how long it'll take her to type 10 pages. So once I have my equation, I can put 10 in for p. So how many minutes will it take if I can do 7.5 pages in 10 minutes? So again, I solve for my variable. I have m, which is my minutes, which is by itself, equals 7.5 times 10. So I go ahead and multiply. So m equals 75. So we would say it would take 75 minutes to type 10 pages based on the rate that she already has.